I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. And I sure do love my job. Yeah. I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. I'm born to preach the gospel. And I sure do love my job. Yeah. Yes, I really love my job. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Oh, I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Yes, I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Get firmly rooted. So let's get firmly rooted. Let's get firmly rooted. So let's get firmly rooted. Oh, I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Let's get firmly rooted. Firmly rooted. Let's get firmly rooted. Yeshua, 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 Yeshua. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. We're disciples that make disciples that make disciples. We are disciples that make disciples that make disciples. We are disciples that make disciples that make disciples. Let's get firmly rooted. Firmly rooted. Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. I'm so pumped to be with you guys. If you guys haven't, if you weren't there yesterday or didn't tune in yesterday to the second day of the last week of Jesus' life Bible study, is amazing. I would highly recommend going back, catching up. Go back to Sunday, watch those, and then yesterday's stream, and then make it out tonight. It's been awesome, and it's Pastor Tom's birthday, and so I'm sure he's going to be on fire tonight. So yeah, you're not going to want to miss that. And reach out to him, wish him happy birthday. But today, this morning, we are going to go through Psalms 119, verses 137 through 144. And I'm going to pull that up for you. There we go. Well, actually, before we do all of that, let's say hi to some folk. We got Dr. Colleen is on here, Ken Gooch, Pamela C., good morning. Steve Drew, good morning. Pamela C. with the emojis. Chuck B. is in the house, good morning, sir. Bert Reggiani, Pastor Tom is on here and also out there in on X. Kevin Johnson, good morning, man. Yes. So good morning. Happy birthday, Pastor Tom. All right, so let's jump on in. We are, there we go. I don't know if I can move that. Oh, look at that. Here we go. All right. So Psalms 119 verses 137 through 144. Let me read it and then we'll jump back and talk through it. All right. You are righteous, Lord, and your laws are right. Your statutes you have laid down are righteous. They are fully trustworthy. My zeal wears me out, for my enemies ignore your words. Your promises have been thoroughly tested, and your servant loves them. Though I am lowly and despised, I do not forget your precepts. Your righteousness is everlasting, and your law is true. Trouble and distress have come upon me, but your commands give me delight. Your statutes, um, your statutes are always righteous. Give me understanding that I may live. Whew, so good. Hey, Connie jumped on here. Good morning. And there's a bunch of other people out there on X and YouTube, Facebook. So good morning to all of you. And it's weird, but sometimes like so whenever I'm watching the stream on X, I don't have the ability to comment or even see the comments. So if that is the case for some of you out there, we still see you. We say hi. Thanks for joining. All right, so let's jump in here. So you are righteous, Lord, and your laws are right. The statutes you have laid down are righteous. They are fully trustworthy. Come on. I love this so much because they are. He's like, they're just trustworthy, right? Like, and I love how it actually jumps down in verse 144 or 140. Your promises have been thoroughly tested, and your servant loves them. And like, we were going through situation last week or whatever, and that's exactly what I was talking to with my wife about. It's just like, man, he's so faithful. Like every single step of our journey together, every single step of my journey with the Lord. It doesn't matter the situation. Like he's always faithful. Like yeah, we go through trials, we go through situations, but he shows up and like things just get better when he shows up. Then things get better, and that was the case this time. Like circumstance, like or on the outside it looked crazy, and on the outside it looked like what are we gonna do? But we just fixed our eyes on him, and we fixed our eyes. We turned our gaze to him, and he never failed. He showed up and blew our socks off, and like he always does things that you like. I didn't even think that was an option. I didn't even think that was possible, and so he always shows up, and we can put our trust in the one who is unmovable, unshakable, that he's unwavering, right? Like he's the only constant. Like everything else, everybody else, like when I was growing up, Aldi was bad. Like, don't go to Aldi's. It's not good. Don't eat produce from Aldi's, right? But now everybody's like, oh, it's the best. I love Aldi's. You know what I mean? So like everybody else can flip flop. Everything else can change, and we change our mind about this, that, and the other. But the only thing that is stayed constant, the only thing that stayed consistent through it all, right? Who never wavers is the Lord. And so we can put our trust in him, right? So don't put our trust in chariots and horses and politicians. Let's put our trust in the name of the Lord, and the one who is everlasting and never changing. So there's that. Let's jump back in here. All right. So I want to pop over here to verse 139. So it says, my zeal wears me out, for my enemies ignore your word. And this passage, it really, yeah. So if you've been with us, as we've been going through Psalms 119, you'll remember that earlier, like he was upset, like he was actually angry at people, for not following Lord. Now his heart is broken for them. Now he's like, like there's this weeping. There's this like, there's this my zeal wears me out. Like I'm troubled by this, and like it reminds me of so many times like where you see just people broken at the foot of the cross, and they like actually reminds me of there's this passage in Ezekiel, is Ezekiel 9, I think it's verse 4, where basically Jerusalem has they're started worshiping idols and all these other things, and so God gives this decree. He's like, man, go throughout the city. He says he's talking to this guy who was dressed in linen. He had a writing kit or something, and he's like, go throughout the city of Jerusalem and mark the ones that are broken over the sin. Right, mark the ones that are broken, that are weeping, and those are the people who were saved. Those were the people who were spared, like the ones who looked out at the world and they saw sin, they saw people like going to hell, like and it just broke them. Like it was like there was this heaviness. It was just like, oh, it's too much, it's like people who cry out for souls, and it's like, man, like or cry out for family members, brothers, sisters, it's like people in our lives that we love and we care for, but they're not in a surrendered life with Christ, and so it just breaks us, and we start weeping. That's kind of the picture that I'm getting from this, or like even my neighbor came over the other day, and he's just weeping, he's broken at the foot of the cross. God's doing a whole work, with them, and just filling up their hearts with this just passion for him. And he's just weeping, telling me the story. And it's just so awesome, and so I just love, I love that, right? Like my zeal wears me out, for my enemies ignore your word. Like we know we're in relationship with God. We're in relationship, and we know the answer to everyone's problem, right, is an intimacy problem. Like we don't spend enough time with the Lord, and so when people come and we see people like just ignorant to the fact that, like, man, you don't have to go through this life alone. You don't have to, struggle the way that you're struggling. Like we can invite Holy Spirit in this moment. And so like whenever like you have the key, you have the answer, and you see somebody struggling, and you're just like, oh man, please just reach out, or like, man, I gotta reach out to this person because I gotta share, I gotta tell them because they don't know. And then even worse, like when you do reach out and they reject it, but in your heart, it's like, I know this is what you need. Like this is the answer. And it just breaks you down, man. And you just like weep. And that's kind of like, he's just, my zeal is wearing me out for my enemies. Ignore your word. And that's where my heart goes with that. And like, it's so good to be broken at the foot of the cross. It's so good to be broken for your neighbor, for your brother, your sister. And to cry out, like we are, we're all intercessors, and we get to stand on behalf of our brothers or sisters, those people, even like your server. Like sometimes you just get a heart for your server, at a restaurant, and your heart just breaks. Like, man, God just bless them, so man, it's just so good to cry out on behalf of others. So your promises have been thoroughly tested, and your servant loves them. Though I am lowly and despised, I do not forget your precepts. Your righteousness is everlasting, and your law is true. Like it's everlasting. Like we were talking about earlier, it's everlasting. It's constant. It's true. It's always true, and it's always for us. And so though I may be lowly, though I might be despised, I do not forget your precepts. Like even though like I might be going through I might be going through a storm, I might be going through a situation, but I know that the Lord is with me and the Lord is fighting for me. And so I can stand on that. And so the way believers go through trials, the way believers go through situations is completely different than people who aren't connected. Why? Because there's this hope that we know, right? There's this knowing that we're coming out. Like if I was in the middle of a trial and I don't have that connection, then I could be hopeless, or I can be in fear, and all these anxious thoughts can consume me, because my eyes aren't fixed on the one, right? My eyes aren't fixed on the fact that, man, God has showed up every single step of the way. So why would he not show up here, right? He's tested, he's proven, like they said in verse 140, and it's everlasting. He's just constantly proving himself over and over and over again. And your righteousness is everlasting, and your law is true. Trouble and distress have come upon me, but your commands give me delight. Man, and so in the midst of trouble, in the midst of distress, I feel delight. I feel comfort. I feel like I'm standing on solid ground, right? And that in the middle of an earthquake, like I'm not being shaken. Why? Because my foundation is Christ. All right, so we got some spam popping up here. Oh, it didn't pop up for you, so that's good. There we go. Your statutes are always right, righteous. Give me understanding that I may live. And so I love that. So in the midst of trial, in the midst of calamity, why don't we do that, right? Like, even if we're feeling like worry, we're feeling anxious, we're feeling those things bubbling up inside, let verse 44 be our prayer. Your statutes are always righteous. Like, I know your character, I know who you are, I know that you are faithful, that you're working this thing out, but I don't see it, and so then our prayer is, give me understanding. God, would you give me your perspective of this situation that I'm walking through? Right? Because I know I'm walking through it. I know I'm going through it. But right now, all I can see, I'm overwhelmed with what I'm seeing. And so I need a fresh perspective. God, would you show me how you see this thing? Will you show me what you're doing in the midst of this thing? So give me understanding that I may live. I love this, man. This Psalm 119 is amazing, and I would just encourage you guys, jump in, dive in, and it's going to be, it encourages me, and I hope it encourages you. But just spend time in His Word. He's faithful. He's so good all the time. All the time, He's good, So create some personal history with the Lord by just studying His Word, getting on your hands and feet, and then crying out. I would think that would be my challenge for you this morning or today, is just like, think about somebody in your life that you love and you care about, and that you don't want to just spend 10, 20, 30 years with, but you actually want to spend eternity with them. But you know that they're not in a surrender life with the Lord, and just spend some time interceding, standing on their behalf, like praying dangerous prayers, that God would just do whatever He has to do to get them to awaken their hearts to reconciliation with their hearts and His. And so pray. Let's stand in the gap for our brothers or sisters, our neighbors, men and women that are just in our lives that we care about, that God puts on our hearts today. Let's intercede. This is it, guys. We'll be back here at 9 for some prayer. I hope this was a blessing and encouragement to you. But like always, let Jesus be seen in you today, and we'll see you at 9. Peace.